Hello everyone, and welcome to Tehillim Treasures, where every week we go through 2 chapters of Tehillim. This week it will be Perek Tezvav and Perek Tezayin, and we will go from the beginning of Sefer Tehillim all the way to the end, and we will learn about David HaMelech's timeless treasures. This week, as every week, is sponsored by 2 exceptionally wonderful organizations. First of all, Chazaq. Chazaq has been Mechazek Yidden, has strengthened Yidden for many, many years, and Baruch Hashem, over the last 2 years, exceptionally so, uplifted us, given us droplets and nuggets of chizuk and encouragement and hope in difficult times. Please support them generously. And secondly, chickensforshabbos.com. Chickens for Shabbos is giving chickens and so much more to families in need, to melamdim, to rabbeim, to those who need it most, to people who are grushas, to women who are divorced, and to women who are agunas, who are nebuch, left alone. People sometimes don't have groceries, and they don't have so much more. Chickens for Shabbos provides all of that and so much more for them. Please give with your heart. This week, as we mentioned, we'll be going through Kapitel Tezvav and Tezayin. In Kapitel Tezvav, David HaMelech begins, Mizmor LeDavid. Hashem miyagur ba'alecha. Hashem, who is going to sojourn in your tent, and mi yishkain, who will dwell behar kodshecha, on your holy mountain. And David HaMelech is going through various fundamentals and yisoidis, critical ideas that a person needs to learn about honesty, integrity, and of course, conducting himself in a righteous manner. But a person needs to realize that it's not so easy. Whenever you're ascending towards greatness, there will be challenges. That's why we're here. We're here for the speed bumps in the road. That's why Hashem put us on this earth. And we asked the Rabbi Shalom, Mi yagur ba'alecha, mi yishkain bahar kodshecha. But if you notice, there's a difference between these 2 expressions. Yagur is someone who is a stranger. He's not there permanently. And ohalecha is an ohel. It's a tent that's not there permanently. It's also there temporarily. Yishkain is more of a permanent dwelling, and so is a har kodshecha, so is a mountain of holiness. So first of all, we have to be able to get temporary status. And only after that will we be able to earn the right to be considered a citizen of Yerushalayim, of Eretz Yisrael, and of course of Olam Haba and Gan Eden, which is our ultimate destination. Rabbi Yitzchak Zev Yadler, who was a great Maggid who lived over 100 years ago. He was the author of Tiferes Tzion, which is a famous Pirush and Medrash Rabbah. He traveled to Eretz Yisrael together with his family. Today you hop on a plane and you get there and it's no problem. But in those days, it wasn't easy. And before he left Europe, his good friend, Reb Nochemka of Harodna, who was a great tzaddik, asked him, do me a favor, when you get to Eretz Yisrael, write me a letter. Let me know how things went. How was your journey? How are you doing? Well, things did not go well at all. The journey was very, very difficult, and Rav Yadler had to spend 4,000 rubles, which was every penny that he had, to pay for medical treatment and the necessities that he and his family needed. They got there, and now Rav Yadler had a dilemma. He didn't know what to do. On the one hand, his friend had asked him to please write him a letter, tell him how things are going. And so, he wanted to write him the truth. On the other hand, he didn't want to fall into the trap that the Meraglim fell into, that the spies fell into when they slandered the land of Eretz Yisrael and they caused so much damage and destruction. He decided he's going to reference the kapitel and the pasuk that we just spoke about. Mi yagur ba'alecha, mi yishkain bahar kodshecha. And he said, when somebody wants to visit a country, when somebody wants to come as a tourist, so the authorities have to make sure that the guy's not a thief. But when the person applies for citizenship, then the inspection is much more thorough. The investigation is very, very thorough. And the standards become much higher. So you need to add merits. You need to make sure that you know the language of the land, you know the laws, and you know the history. He says the same is true for somebody who goes to Eretz Yisrael. When somebody goes to Eretz Yisrael and you're going as a tourist, it's one thing. You're not going to be held that responsible. If somebody wants to be Yale Bahar Hashem, if somebody just wants to come, if somebody wants to Yagur Ba'yolecha, you just want to go, Nikicha Payim Uvay Levov, you just have to be Erlich, that's all you need. But if somebody wants to really live there, to Yishkoin Bahar Kodshecha, if somebody really wants to dwell in the mountain of holiness, if you want to become a citizen of Eretz Yisrael, then the standards are much, much higher. And therefore, he understood that the Rabbeinu Shalom is exacting from him. He's collecting from him every ounce of koyach that he has in order to live there and in order to be a citizen of Eretz Yisrael. Sometimes we go through difficult times and we wonder why. But understand that the Rabbeinu Shalom wants your citizenship. He wants you to really, really belong. Not only to Klal Yisrael, but belong to Him. And when you say, Rabbeinu Shalom, I'm holding on no matter what you throw at me, then you truly will fulfill the pasuk of Miyishkain Bahar Kodshecha. You will live in the mountain of Hashem. We come to Kapitel Tez Zayin. Kapitel Tez Zayin begins Michtam LeDavid. A Michtam is a combination, the Mefarshim tell us, of two words. Number one, a Michtam is Mach, which is somebody who's humble. Number two is Tam, somebody who is complete. Michtam LeDavid, David HaMelech is telling us that I'm singing a song, a musical composition about those who are humble, those who are complete, those who are pure, those who are innocent. There's one pasuk in this kapitel that is very, very famous. It's very important, and the truth is that when you walk into shul, you will see it in almost every single shul. Shivisi Hashem lenegdi samid. I place Hashem in front of me always. When a person serves Hashem properly, when you want to be a tam, when you want to be not only innocent but pure and perfect, so then you understand that you always need to act that way in front of the Rabbeinu Shalom. Tamid, not just be a synagogue Jew, but how do you act when no one else is around? In fact, in the very, very beginning of Halacha, of Shulchan Aruch, these words are written by the Ramah. Shivisi Hashem lenegdi samid. Place Hashem in front of you always. We're about to learn the halachas of Mishnah Brura, says the Ramah. We're about to learn the daily halachas of how a person lives in Orach Chaim, your day-to-day life, not just going to shul, but how do you act in a bathroom? How do you act in a bedroom? How do you act when no one's around? How do you act on the street? How do you live? Do you place Hashem constantly in front of you? Or is it only when you're in shul you're worried about Hashem? But when you're not in shul, you're a completely different person. It's interesting to note that Shivisi Hashem lenegdi samid is the pasuk that is put on the front, on the amud, in almost every shul. Why? L'chayre, it shouldn't be needed for a shul. In a shul, you don't need Hashem in front of you. And perhaps the answer is that a person needs to realize that when we're not in shul, a person has to concentrate on davening so much so that even when you're not in shul, you carry this around with you. We're not going to be davening all day. We're not going to be davening every moment of every day. But as long as we hold on to that image and we concentrate on that when we're davening, so then when we enter places where sometimes Hashem's presence is not so obvious, we'll be able to hold on to that as well. And the way we do that is through humility. Mach, being humble. We've mentioned a number of times already in Tehillim where David HaMelech expresses the importance of being humble, and in this kapitel, he does so again. I want to share with you a Maisa. It's an incredible story. It's a story that happened with the Noida Yehuda's son-in-law, Rabbi Yosef of Posen. And when Rabbi Yosef of Posen was referenced by the Noida Yehuda, he wrote, "My whole body trembles when I write to you." Now the Noida Yehuda was the Gadol Hadar, and his body trembled when he addressed his son-in-law in a letter. But the Noida Yehuda's daughter apparently was not the tzaddikas that Rabbi Yosef of Posen was. The Noida Yehuda's daughter-in-law, in very, very blunt language, was a shrew. She was a very, very difficult woman. Now, before you turn this off, listen to the story, because I know some of you are thinking, Rabbi Spero saying Lashon Hara. Listen to the story. And every time Rabbi Yosef of Posen would get up to speak, everybody knew what was going to happen. His wife, the shrew, would get up and holler at him and scream at him and be mevazeh at him. She would humiliate him. It was terribly embarrassing. It was the talk of the town. Everybody knew about it, and it was a terrible rachmanos on Rabbi Yosef. One day, Rabbi Yosef was nifter. They're preparing the levaya, and who steps forward that she wants to speak? None other than his Rebbitzin. His Rebbitzin says, "I have what to say." And they said to her, "We know you have what to say, and that's why we don't think you should be maspid your chashuva husband." Then she said, "I'm getting up to speak." There was nothing they could do. She stood up, and in a mournful wail, she said, "Rav Yosef, my dear husband, holy Rav Yosef, when you agreed to marry me, you did so on one condition. You made me promise that every time you'd be given honor in public, you made me promise that I would humiliate you, that I would disgrace you, that I would shame you. It's not because I didn't respect you, Chas v'Shalom, and that's why I'm begging you to be meichel me. You were so terrified of gaiva, of haughtiness, that's what you asked me to do." She fell onto his aron, she collapsed, and she cried. That's the lengths that the great tzaddikim have gone to avoid haughtiness, gaiva, kavod, and honor. May we all be zoiche to live a humble life in front of Hashem, and may all the blessings that we seek come true. Thank you so much.